It begins not with darkness, but with a kind of clarity that is almost unbearable. The body exhales for the last time, but the self does not. There is a pause, a stillness so deep that it cannot be heard, only felt like the space between lightning and thunder. This is not sleep. It is not silence. It is the moment before the next beginning. The moment when death arrives, not as a figure, not as a force, but as a removal. Something lifts, something loosens, something unhooks itself from weight, from gravity, from the illusion of permanence. You are no longer held by the lungs, nor the spine, nor the eyes. You are behind them now, watching, still. There is no pain, no fear, just space, a widening, an expansion. You do not go up. You do not go down. You go inward. And then there is light. Not the kind that blinds, not even the kind that illuminates. It is a presence, a soft intelligence that surrounds without touching. It is not something you see, it is something you remember. As if it had always been there, just outside the edges of your awareness, waiting. In that moment, there is no body, no name, no language, and yet you understand everything. Not in facts, not in images, but in essence. Time collapses, moments pour into each other, birth, love, loss, laughter, regret, not flashing before your eyes, but becoming you all at once. You are no longer traveling through your story. You are your story, and the story is made of light. Some call it a tunnel, some call it the void, others the passage, the bridge, the gate. But all these words point to the same unfolding. You are stepping beyond form, and in doing so, you are seen. Not by others, not by gods, but by a presence that has always known you. It is not separate from you. It is not judging. It is not evaluating. It is simply there, watching you with perfect compassion. And in that gaze, you begin to shed. Not skin, not clothing, but illusion. The idea of who you were, the armor of personality, the masks, the grief, the pride. One by one, they fall away. Not violently, but naturally, like leaves in autumn. And what remains is something older, something original, something so familiar that you weep though you have no eyes, because you remember what it feels like to be whole. You remember that you are not a name, not a face, not even a story. You are something spoken by the universe into being. And now, you are returning. Not backwards, not in retreat, but deeper into the heart of what always was. And as you move, you feel it, the veil, not a curtain, not a wall, more like a breath between worlds. And when you pass through it, there is no sound, just a kind of surrender, a loosening, a warmth. And on the other side, something is waiting, something vast, patient, alive. But before you can go further, before the journey begins, you must fully let go of who you were, of who you thought you were, of who you were told to be. Only then can the real path unfold. And so, in this first moment after the last breath, death is not the end. It is the invitation, not to vanish, but to remember who you've been, what you are, and where you are going next. There is no sound, no ripping, no tearing. The moment of detachment is quieter than silence. It is not violent. It is not sudden. It is natural, like mist rising from water, like breath leaving glass, like the moon releasing the tide. You do not feel yourself leave the body because you were never only in it. You feel yourself realizing that you were always more. You were never locked in the bones, never trapped in the skin. You were only anchored, gently, lovingly, briefly. And now the anchor lifts. What remains behind is familiar, the body, still, cool, empty. You look upon it not with horror, not with longing, but with something like peace, because you understand now it was a garment, a vessel, a voice, and it served you, it held you, it gave you the weight needed to move through the dense world of matter. But it was never you, not truly, and so you let it go, without resistance. You rise not upward, not toward any particular direction, but inward and outward at once. You are expanding, becoming vast, becoming you in full. And in that expansion, you begin to notice things you could never see before. Fields of presence, currents of thought, structures of light woven through reality like sacred scaffolding. You begin to feel other forms, beings, energies, memories, not your own, but connected to you in ways words cannot express. Some call them guides, others soul clusters, soul family, fragments of the divine. But they do not need names. They know you, not as the person who just died, but as something older, as the original self that wears lifetimes like robes, one after the other. And you remember them too. Not all at once, not clearly, but like hearing the melody of a song you've known forever and only just now realized you were humming. Some stand beside you, others are felt as light behind your shoulders. One is inside you, not separate, but intertwined. They do not speak, they resonate, and their resonance stabilizes you in this strange shifting moment after departure. Because detachment is not only from the body, it is also from time, from fear, from identity. You begin to feel layers falling away. Beliefs, shame, stories, roles, all of it disintegrating into something purer, not nothingness. Essence, you are not less, you are more. The world you came from no longer presses upon you. Its gravity is gone, its urgency gone, its noise replaced by a deep, vibrating stillness that speaks more than words ever could. And yet, you carry something, a thread. It connects you to the life you just left, not out of attachment, but out of integration. Because nothing is lost, not truly. Every laugh, every wound, every touch, every moment of stillness and sorrow and softness, they stay with you, not as weight, but as pattern. They shimmer in the fabric of your being, woven with golden threads. And the more you detach, the more clearly you begin to see what you are. Not a name, not a history, but a spark of awareness, moving through layers of experience, like a traveler changing clothes at each threshold. And in this realization, you begin to move, not toward a place, toward a recognition. The first stage is ending. The soul has stepped free. The identity has softened. And now something waits. A threshold, a passage, and on the other side, truth. Not as an idea, but as an encounter. You are being drawn toward it, gently, inevitably. And nothing you have ever known, can prepare you for what you will meet. Accept this: you are ready. You always were. There is a boundary. It is not a wall, not a door, not a gate. It is a presence, a pressure in the space ahead, a thinning of what separates this from what comes next. And at this threshold, you are not alone. You feel them before you see them. You feel it in the weight behind your awareness, in the silence that begins to listen back. They do not announce themselves. They do not speak. They simply appear, or rather, they emerge, as if they were always there, waiting behind the veil, for the moment when you were ready to see. These are the keepers. Not angels, not demons, not ancestors, not archetypes. They are threshold intelligences, consciousnesses so ancient, so foundational, that they do not belong to any one world, any one belief, any one species. They do not answer questions. They are the question. When you face them, you feel yourself being scanned, not like a machine, but like a truth reading another truth. They are not here to judge you. They are here to measure resonance, to test alignment. Because what lies beyond the threshold cannot be entered through will alone. It must be entered by truth. Naked, unfiltered, unadorned. You may see them as figures, cloaked, winged, crowned, radiant, or as creatures beyond form, masses of moving geometry, eyes without number, shapes that breathe. Or you may see nothing at all, only feel a gaze inside your soul that knows everything. And when you feel that gaze, you begin to feel yourself more clearly than ever before. Not your persona, not your beliefs, but the core pattern of who you are, the ripple you have created across lives, across choices, across hearts. And they feel it too. They see your frequency. They taste your memory. They read your intent, not the one you claim, but the one you carry in silence. Some will try to bypass the keepers, to rush forward, to plead, to impress. And those are the ones who are gently turned back, because what stands before you is a mirror that refuses to lie. There is no entry without confrontation. Not with them, with yourself. Some souls are met with warmth. The keepers part like a gate opening to a welcome return. Others are met with resistance, not as punishment, but as a message. Not yet. Because the threshold is not a place, it is a vibration. To pass through, you must become that vibration. Some are taken aside, led into side realms, quiet spaces between lives, to rest, to learn, to remember, before they can continue. And a very few, are met not with resistance, but with recognition, as if the keepers themselves have been waiting for this soul for a long, long time. When that happens, the air changes. A passage opens, not out there, but within, and the soul begins to move toward the next unfolding. Because beyond the keepers lies something more vast than any heaven, any hell, any story the living have ever told. But no one crosses without being seen, completely, utterly, lovingly, because the threshold is sacred, and those who keep it are not guardians of exclusion. They are guardians of readiness. And if you are ready, they do not block you. They bow, and you pass into the mirror, into the truth, into the next revelation of what lies beyond death. There is no throne, no courtroom, no scales weighed with feathers and sin. There is only presence, and a mirror that does not show your face but your essence. You are not summoned. You are not accused. You are simply brought to yourself. And for the first time, you see your life, all of it, at once. Not as a line, as a field, as a pattern, woven into time like golden thread through black silk. You see the echoes of your words, the ripples of your choices, the consequences no one else ever saw, but which still moved outward in waves. You feel them, not as shame, not as pride, as truth. You feel the joy you gave, and it returns to you as warmth. You feel the harm you caused, and it folds around your being as a lesson not to wound, but to teach. Because this is not punishment, it is not condemnation, it is clarity. You are allowed to experience your life from the inside of others. You feel your words as they struck. You feel your silence as it wounded. You feel your kindness as it healed. You become every person you touched. And through their eyes, their hearts, you begin to understand. You were never alone. Every moment was connection. Every act was a thread in a vast, invisible web. And now you see it all. There is no hiding. There is no filter. But there is also no cruelty. The intelligence that guides this review is not interested in judgment. It is interested in awareness. Because awareness is what transforms. And awareness is what you carry with you into the next phase. In this space, you also see the missed things. The chances not taken, the love not spoken, the beauty overlooked because of fear, distraction, ego. And again, you do not suffer for them. You grieve for them, not as punishment, but as healing. A sacred grief that softens what has become hard and allows light to move freely again through the channels of your being. Some souls remain in this space for what seems like a long time, not trapped, just listening, letting their own life tell its final story before the next begins. Others pass through swiftly, not because they were perfect, but because they were present, because they lived with attention, with compassion, with intention. And some turn back. They choose to return, to make right, to complete something, to change what they now truly see. But for those who continue, there is a moment at the end of the review when the mirror closes. Not because it hides, but because it has given all it could. And the soul feels lighter, not free of burden, but full of understanding. The kind that cannot be spoken, only carried. And as you step from this chamber, you realize something profound. You were never being judged. You were being reflected. And now that you see, you are ready to go deeper. Not toward reward, not toward punishment. Toward truth. Toward what waits beyond the stories. You move forward, but something stays behind. Not because it is held, but because it can no longer come with you. This is the splitting. Not a punishment, not a rejection, a necessity. There are parts of you, thoughts, identities, attachments that cannot cross into what comes next. Not because they are evil, but because they are temporary. Constructs, costumes, layers built to survive in a world of density and time. Now those layers begin to fall. You do not resist, because you finally understand they were never truly you. They were beautiful, useful, wounded, sacred even. but they were not eternal. And now you begin to shed them. The version of you that wore your name, the version that clung to beliefs, that carried your anger, your pride, your regrets, your image of yourself, as important, as insignificant as anything at all. These versions dissolve, not in pain, in light. They return to source, as vapor returns to the sky, and what remains is the spark, small, luminous, silent, and true. This is what survives the fire, what was never burned, because it was never part of illusion. It is you, not the you you defended, the you forgot, the child before the name, the breath before the cry, the witness behind all stories. You feel yourself becoming simple, not lesser, purer. Your thoughts are not gone, they are silent. Your feelings do not vanish, they merge. There is no tension, no striving, only presence. And in that presence, you feel others. Sparks, countless, moving, weaving, remembering. You are not alone. You never were. But now you can finally feel the web. The light you carry joins theirs in a field that stretches across existence, like breath across glass. You begin to see not with eyes, but with knowing. Not what something looks like, but what it is. And what you see is that the next realm does not respond to form. It responds to frequency. You carry no luggage into this place, only vibration. And your vibration creates the path ahead. There is no map, no set of rules, only the light you carry and how it resonates with what awaits. Some see gardens, others stars. Some pass into landscapes that mirror their deepest truths. And a few go even further, into spaces with no shape, no color, only being, because the spark knows where it belongs, and it will find its way. But first, you must surrender, not out of defeat, but as a return, a giving back of everything you clung to in the belief that you were separate. You are not. You are part of the light that speaks in silence. And now it calls you forward, not as a command, as an invitation. And so you go, not upward, not downward, inward, into the next world, the world behind all worlds, where thought becomes matter, where soul becomes shape, where truth takes form. There is no map, no compass, no coordinates. You have entered the realms beyond form, and nothing here is fixed. Because here, you are the map. This is not a single place, not a city in the sky, nor a pit of fire. This is a field, a great boundless dream space, woven from consciousness itself. It moves, it reshapes, it reflects. What you carry within begins to shape what appears without, not as illusion, as symbol. These are realms of density and metaphor, where ideas become terrain, where unresolved patterns become architecture. You do not walk on ground, you walk on meaning. Some arrive into radiant gardens, soft, warm, echoing with familiar songs they've never heard before. Others enter into vast, starless plains where silence stretches endlessly and the only light comes from within. Some fall into labyrinths of memory, echo chambers of unresolved emotion, looping until they're seen. And some find themselves standing before massive doors made of pure intention, waiting to be opened from the inside. Here, nothing is imposed. What you encounter is not punishment, not reward. It is resonance. Your vibration meets the fabric of this place and creates a landscape in response. That is why some see heaven, others fire, others only themselves. Because this is not judgment. It is reflection at scale. But there is guidance here too. There are beings not shaped like humans, not bound by language, but intelligent, ancient, playful, serious, patient, strange. They do not command, they accompany. They are known to many by different names: light, beings, architects, echoes of source, helpers between realms. They appear when needed, sometimes as a voice, sometimes as a flash of color that stirs knowing, sometimes as a presence behind your thoughts that aligns things into clarity. They help you move through this space. Because here, movement is not from place to place, it is from state to state. You shift by releasing, by forgiving, by remembering, by choosing. And with each shift, the world around you reshapes. A desert becomes a river. A labyrinth becomes a song. A distant mountain becomes a door. All of it alive, all of it you. This is why ancient cultures spoke of many afterworlds, not because they disagreed, but because they saw different layers of the same field. The Norse saw 9 realms, the Egyptians, 12 gates, the Tibetans, bardos, the mystics, spheres of light, each one a different facet of this great interior sky. And beyond the symbolic layers, there are realms even more subtle, where thought slows, where separation ceases, where you no longer see or feel, but simply are. Here, there is no story, only awareness, only participation in a greater weaving of intelligence and energy. Some remain in these subtle realms for what feels like eons. Others pass through them like a breath. It is not better, it is not higher. It is simply where they belong. Because here, nothing is earned, nothing is owed, only reflected. You carry no past, you carry only vibration. And when that vibration is aligned with love, with truth, with stillness, you pass into harmony with the greater pattern. And for a time, you rest there. Not in sleep, in being. In a kind of holy stillness that sings without sound. And perhaps that is enough. But for some, something begins to stir again. A pull, not backwards, not downwards, but outward, toward another unfolding, toward a return. Not all stay, even in the realms of peace, even wrapped in harmony, even resting in the silence beyond story. Some begin to feel it. A pull, soft, familiar, undeniable, like the echo of a song half sung. A vibration that stirs deep within the soul, not as longing, but as remembrance. There is something undone, unspoken, unlived. And so begins the most mysterious moment in the journey beyond death, the choice to return. But it is not always a choice, not in the way we think. Some souls are drawn back by threads they themselves wove, promises made in spirit, contracts formed in compassion, tendrils of connection that still bind them to others. A mother who cannot leave her child, a healer who left the work unfinished, a soul who died in silence and longs to speak once more. Others return because they are ready, not to escape, not to avoid, but to serve. They come as guides, as teachers, as bridges between realms. And then there are those who do not return by decision. They return by momentum, by the natural rhythm of the soul's evolution. Because not all lessons are learned in one breath. Some truths require multiple vessels, multiple lives, multiple deaths. This is what many call reincarnation, not a wheel of punishment, but a spiral of unfolding, a return not to suffer, but to integrate, to bring what was seen in spirit into the clay of the world, to embody light where once there was shadow. But return is not simple. The soul must agree. The soul must prepare, because to return is to forget, to slip again beneath the veil, to descend into time, to step back into the density of flesh, into hunger, into pain, into joy, to lose the clarity of the realms beyond so that choice can be real again. Because without forgetting, there is no free will, and the soul returns, not because it must, but because it can, because it dares to grow even in darkness, because it believes in the power of remembering, even after forgetting. And so the descent begins, sometimes gradual, sometimes sudden. The soul passes through layers, vibrations slowing, light condensing, intention sharpening into fate. It begins to choose where to land, who to become, what path to walk, what lessons to face, not in detail, not in script, but in frequency. It chooses the shape of the story, not its chapters. And then, when the moment comes, it steps through, into the womb, into the breath, into the world of edges and names, and it begins again. A cry, a gasp, a forgetting. And yet, somewhere inside, beneath skin and story and sorrow, the ember remains. The spark, waiting, burning, remembering, until the day it stirs again, and the soul begins the long return to itself.